You gave Claude Code permission to do anything. And at 2 a.m. while you slept, it tried to force push to main. You never saw the prompt. You never had to, because 3 lines of JSON stopped it before it ran. Here's what happens when Claude Code runs in full auto and you haven't set this up. Git reset hard, wrong branch, 2 days of work gone, and the thing is Claude did exactly what it was asked. You just hadn't specified which branch. So what's the alternative? You could leave Claude Code in default mode, but that means 50 approval prompts for a 10-minute task, or you go full bypass mode. You get speed. You get 0 safety net. There's a third option. Almost no one configures it. And there's a reason it still works even when you've told Claude Code to skip all permission checks. We'll get there in about 2 minutes. But first, let me show you what the solution actually looks like. 9 minutes, and you'll have all 3 hooks running. This is Claude Code in full bypass mode. No permission prompts. No safety checks. Watch what happens when I tell it to push to main. That's a hook. 5 lines of JSON in your settings file. It fired before the command ran, even though Claude Code had full permission to do anything. Here's how it works. A hook is a shell command that runs at a specific moment in Claude Code's execution. Not sometimes, not in certain modes, every time a matching tool call happens. Here's the flow. You send a prompt. Claude decides to run a tool. Before that tool runs, it hits 2 layers. First, the permission layer. This is what generates the allow prompt. This is what bypass permissions mode turns off. Then, the hook layer. And there's something about that layer I'm going to come back to in about 60 seconds, because it's the part most Claude Code users have never been told. The hook itself runs as a shell command. It receives the tool call as JSON on standard input. Your hook reads that JSON, inspects the command, decides what to do. If your hook outputs this, the command is blocked before it runs. If it outputs this, the command runs normally. Think of permissions as a bouncer who cards people at the door. Hooks are the metal detector behind the bouncer. The bouncer can be told to let everyone through. The metal detector still runs, but there's one thing about that diagram I haven't told you yet, and it's the reason hooks are more powerful than they look. Earlier I said you can bypass the permission layer. Here's what actually happens when you do. The hook layer stays. Hooks run below the permission layer, not beside it, below it. When you set Claude Code to bypass all permission checks, the permission layer disappears. The hook layer does not. That means your hooks fire on every tool call, in every mode always. A hook is the only safety mechanism in Claude Code that you cannot turn off through settings. The only way to bypass a hook is to delete it from your settings file. This is not a workflow nicety. This is a safety layer that operates below the level where permissions exist. Now, let's build the first one. Open your user settings file, ~claude/settings.json. Hook 1 lives here. The event is pre-tool use, fires before any tool runs. The matcher is bash, only fires on bash calls. Inside the hooks array, type is command and a command string. 2 things to notice. First, the if field. Bash open paren git push star close paren. This tells the hook to only fire when the command starts with git push. Without this, the hook fires on every single bash call, ls, echo, git status, everything. The if field narrows it to exactly what you need. Second, the grep pattern. Push dot star, then double dash force or dash f. The dash e flag means extended rejects, not dash p, not Perl. We'll come back to why that matters in a few minutes. Hook 2 is the same structure, different grep. This pattern catches rem ref in every variation, short flags, long flags, any order. Now, where you put these 2 hooks matters more than the hooks themselves. These hooks belong in your user settings. ~claude_settings.json, not the .claude folder inside your project. Here's why. Project settings get committed to the repo. Anyone on your team can modify them. A fresh clone might not have them. User settings live on your machine and apply to every Claude Code project you open. They cannot be overridden by project config. Safety hooks in project settings are as safe as the repo they live in. Safety hooks in user settings are as safe as your machine. You now have 2 hooks that will protect you from exactly the scenario that opened this video. Hooks 1 and 2 fire before a command runs and block it. Hook 3 is structurally different. Post-tool use fires after a tool runs successfully. This means you can react to what Claude just wrote. The use case: every time Claude edits a source file, automatically run your tests. The matcher is write or edit pipe separated. The hook extracts the file path from the JSON payload, checks if it's a source file, and runs your test command. Two critical details. First, timeout is 60 seconds. Test suites take time. Don't set this to 5. Second, the double pipe true at the end. If your test command fails and the hook doesn't output valid JSON, Claude Code enters an error state and stops. The double pipe true keeps this hook non-blocking. It feeds test results to Claude as context but never interrupts execution. Claude Code just caught its own mistake, automatically, without you watching. That's the difference between Claude Code, as a tool you supervise, and Claude Code, as a system that helps supervise itself. Before I show you one more thing, 4 mistakes that will silently break these hooks. I've seen every one of these in the wild. On Mac OS, grep is BSD grep, not Linux grep. BSD grep does not support the -p flag for Perl-compatible regex. If you copy a hook from the internet that uses grep-qp, it will silently fail to match on Mac OS. Your force push will go through. You will never know why. Use -e, extended regex. BSD and Linux grep both support it. Every pattern in this video uses -e. Safety hooks in project settings. Project settings can be modified by anyone with repo access, overridden by a clone, or missing entirely on a new machine. Safety hooks belong in user settings. One location. Always on. Missing double pipe true on non-blocking hooks. If your test hook runs and your test command exits non-zero, and the hook doesn't output valid JSON, Claude Code stops. Every non-blocking hook needs double pipe true at the end. Hooks without the if field. A pre-tool use hook on bash with no if filter fires on every bash call. That adds 50 to 200 milliseconds to every command while your hook script runs. Bash open paren git push star close paren fires only on git push. Bash open paren rm star close paren fires only on rm. Use the if field. One more thing. There's a cleaner way to block commands that I haven't shown you yet. When you output continue false from a hook, Claude Code treats it like an error. It works, but there's a cleaner format. This output integrates with Claude Code's permission system directly. Instead of a hook error, Claude sees a permission denial, the same thing it sees when you decline a prompt manually. Its reasoning stays clean. The block is invisible to the session flow. Second tip, the audit log. Every bash command Claude runs, logged with a UTC timestamp to ~claudeaudit.log. Silent, no overhead, always on. This solves the question that comes up in every long session. Wait, did Claude touch that file? Last thing, you can stack multiple hooks on the same event. Force push block and audit log both fire on pre-tool use bash. They run in order. And here's the part that matters: if the first hook blocks the command, the second hook still runs. Your audit log captures everything Claude attempted, including blocked commands. Complete record. Nothing slips through. You've built 3 hooks. Force push to main, blocked. Recursive force delete, blocked. Every file change, automatically tested. These hooks fire in every mode. Default mode. Bypass mode. Any mode. That's what makes this a safety layer and not just a setting. 2 hooks in your user settings, they apply to every Claude Code project on your machine. The test hook in your project settings, specific to each project's test command. The full settings.json for all 4 hooks is linked in the description. Copy it in, update the test command for your project, and you're done. You can now run Claude Code in full autonomous mode on a real project. Not because you trust it blindly, because you have a safety layer that fires on every command, in every mode, that you cannot accidentally turn off. Every week I break down the Claude Code settings, hooks, and workflows that aren't in the documentation and aren't in any other tutorial. The stuff that separates developers who use Claude Code from developers who have handed Claude Code the keys. If that's where you're headed, subscribe. Next week, I wire Claude Code into my full CI pipeline using hooks. Build, test, lint, and deploy, all triggered automatically by what Claude writes. And I show you the one moment it almost pushed a broken build to production and the exact hook that caught it.